What do you do when you can tell your partner needs a break, but you don't? This doesn't mean a permanent relationship break, just like some physical space.
Well, you're in a partnership, so I don't need to answer that.
I mean, I guess you can answer it maybe from a friendship perspective. Okay. Yeah, when my partner needs a break. Okay, so I'm definitely way more like...
Don't worry, he doesn't listen.
We've
confirmed he does not listen.
He does not listen. I'm definitely more physically needy than he is, for
Most
sure.
women are.
I would say. So I can pretty much tell when he needs, and it's not that I don't feel that he needs space from me per se. Maybe he just needs more personal space. You know, we live together. We both work from home, even though we have separate studios. Like, we're kind of around each other. We try to have at least a meal together. Typically it's dinner. Sometimes we do lunch. Like, so it is nice to be around your partner, but I would say I've experienced it as well when I'm like, I just can't, I don't want to look at you. I don't want to smell you. I don't want to hear your voice. I don't want to hear you chewing. Like, I need you to not be here. I'm fortunate I have a space where I can go to a different room or a different space. But I guess there's been situations where somebody asking for space and I don't want the space. Like, when he's very clearly made it a point that he's preoccupied and he doesn't maybe want me around asking him questions or harping on him to do a house project. It still hurts my feelings, you know, like, even though I'm a pretty tough person, seeing that somebody that you love doesn't want to be in the physical same space, like, my instant reaction is like, well, fuck you then. Like, I don't want to hang out with you anyway. Like, I'll go hang out with somebody else. I don't need to be around you. So we create that instant block where it's like, oh, you want space? I'll give you space. And I've done that before where it's like, oh, you don't want me around? Fine. And I'll just take off and I won't come back for hours and hours and hours, you know? But that's just coming from a place of being hurt, right? So I'm internally hurt because it feels like a rejection, right? So I actually really love this question because clearly what I just described is not his problem. It's a me problem, because obviously it's hurting me. It's hurting my heart. It's hurting my energy. I feel rejected. I feel like maybe I did something and am I being annoying? I don't want to be annoying to the person that I love the most. Then it makes you insecure. It makes you self-conscious. How often does this happen? Do I do this a lot? Does he feel this way a lot? Is he tired of me? Right? You go into this cycle of, what did I do? Right? So I think in those moments now, it used to be a lot worse before, but I think now I just take it for what it is. And, you know, you just give people a little bit of space. Could be a couple hours, could be a day. You know, obviously we sleep in the same bed. And this is the only person that I've ever had this experience before, but it's the person that I love the most that it hurts with the most. So my advice would be to, you know, really do some self-inquiry. Ask yourself what it is about the situation that makes you feel hurt. Like, I had to sit down and really ask myself, like, why does this hurt me so bad? Because it's always going to go into a childhood wound of some sort, abandonment, feeling rejected or not feeling like you're enough. And so the minute that you can really acknowledge that and sit with that, I think it really helps your capacity to deal with somebody needing some space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And I'll just add something that we can do to help. And I remember in my relationship, and in general, men do require more space and women require more closeness. We connect through oxytocin. They're connecting more through vasopressin, which is like problem solving. And the core feminine wound is abandonment, you know, because women historically had been abandoned. And when you have a baby and you're abandoned, it's like detrimental. Whereas men have gone out and fought wars. So being on their own is a lot easier because for thousands of years they had done that. So it's like we're all kind of experiencing the same thing. I will say what helped me was to know when we were going to reconnect. So having something like on the calendar, or we're going to have dinner at this time. So then I know if he's ignoring me or he's busy or whatever, like it's like, okay, he's working, you know, and I'm going to see him at 7, or this week is crazy for him and we're not going to really have dinner or anything this week, but on the weekend, we're going to do this. That would let me know like, okay, this is when we're going to reconnect. But when there wasn't like a tangible thing on the calendar or something like that, or if it would be for long periods of time, that's when I would feel really disconnected and sad. And, you know, and then that makes you kind of like, you know, be like, do you even care about me? And like coming out in these like maybe shadowy ways that can like come off as like for the guy like needy, you know? And I feel like that's like a big ick for the masculine as well. So I find just like, even if you're in the beginning of a relationship, having like, okay, like maybe during the day they work and you don't get to hear from them. It's like, can you have a call in the morning or a call in the evening? And just having these like bookends so you know like this person still cares about me, because what are we scared of? We're scared you're just going to stop caring, you know?
Yeah, you know, it's funny that you're saying that. It just reminded me of, oh my God, it's so funny. Like I've not actually thought about this in so long, but I used to get so irate when Tori wouldn't respond to my texts. When I would want to do that, like what you're saying is exactly great, true. It's like you have something to look forward to, or you have a plan of when you're going to connect. There's a sort of solution,
when you're
right?
not living together, it's like, am I going to see you?
Yeah.
You know?
And I remember he didn't respond quick enough, or it was like a couple hours. And I remember really sort of like leaning like just, I was a savage. I was like, listen, I don't know what you've been doing, but I've been texting you and you've not responded. Clearly, I can see that you got my text message. Like, what are you doing just staring at it? Why can't you just respond? Like, what is taking you so long?
Inner Latina coming out.
Right? And, you know, I just remember having this, and he was so kind and so compassionate and was like super apologetic. He was like, I'm really sorry. You know, I was in the middle of these things and they had a leak. He used to have a store on Santa Monica. We had a big leak in the shop, and there was water. We were trying to pick up boxes so that my inventory wouldn't get. And it was a big mess.
And men are so single focused.
Totally.
That like if they're doing something, they're doing it. We naturally we're gatherers, right?
Yeah.
So we're like having this conversation and we're doing this and we're doing that. Like, I mean, we always take screenshots of like, because Rosie and I are in contact 24 hours a day until she goes to sleep really early, and then I have to deal with my shit by myself. Annoying.
What is that like for you, by the way?
Girl, I had to like go through my 4th of July issue alone. It was challenging. But I will say I'm noticing like how men, you know, when they're working, they're just working. And bless that. Like they need to be like that for them to be like slaying. And, you know, and you want to be with a man who's doing that. You don't want like a guy who's a really good texter, who's also checking Instagram stories, who's also this, it's fucking cheater. Like I swear, those guys are the cheaters. You know, if a guy, like now looking back on it, I used to think last year, if a guy's looking at my Instagram story, he likes me. Now I'm like, oh, you do this to everyone. I don't want to be with a guy who's looking at random girls' Instagram stories, period.
Yeah.
If it started with you liking and hearting my stories and I didn't know you, that means you're that kind of guy. I want to be with a guy that doesn't have Instagram, you know? And,
right?
And that to me is very attractive about someone. Like you can have Instagram, but not to use Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, definitely not to be like liking girls' stories on there. Cause I'm just like, you have no life. Like you're distracted. Like, what are you doing all day, bro?
Yeah.
Focus.
Right?
But then when you like someone and he's focusing, you're like, me.
Yeah. All of a
I'm
sudden
here.
you're like,
you don't care about me. What are you doing? Here's a picture of me. Do you like my hair? You know, respond.
I think having a balance is good. I think it's good to have those moments too, you know?
And I think guys, and I mean, I guess like you just got to do it your own way. But guys have told me that like women before have been like, why aren't you responding to me? And that has felt like a lot to them, kind of like what you did to Tori.
Oh.
And like, they didn't like that, whereas Tori was down for that, but that's like who you are. So it's like, be yourself,
Well, and by the way, this is still who I am.
Yeah.
And just last week, I mean, this, we're the same way, but it's like, just last week, I sent him a text and I'm like, hello, like what? The phone is in your pocket. I hear it. It's really loud because I put all the ringtones on there to make sure they're really loud so you can hear when I text him.
Do you still go through his phone 21 years later?
I mean, it's not, I don't know that.
Yes.